The Pardon and Parole Board voted in favor of clemency for death row inmate James Coddington. He's accused of killing his coworker with a hammer over drug money decades ago. And now it's in the hands of Governor Stitt. A lot to unpack here. So let's bring in assistant law professor from Oklahoma City University School of Law, Maria Kohler. Welcome to the show, Professor Kohler.
Thank you.
So for those who may have missed the hearing yesterday, I know you said you caught some of it as well. Could you break down just a little bit about what exactly happened and what the outcome was of that Pardon and Parole Board meeting yesterday?
Okay. The hearing yesterday was what they call a clemency hearing, which is done before an execution. It's really the last stop. It's really the last thing. All the regular legal appeals are over. And this is a very traditional procedure that states have, including Oklahoma, to have a chance to see for basically the convicted defendant to make an appeal for mercy. In Oklahoma, the governor has no authority to give clemency, to stay, to not go ahead on a death sentence like in this case, unless there's a majority vote of the Board of Pardon and Parole. And yesterday, the Pardon and Parole Board voted, the vote was 3-2 to grant clemency in this case, which means they're recommending to the governor that he stop basically the execution. And basically the argument in Mr. Coddington's case is there's no claim of innocence here. It's really all about them pointing out, his attorneys pointing out, that it's been 25 years since this crime. It was a very terrible crime. He killed a dear old man who was a close friend who had been kind to him, and he killed him. A violent crime, violent crime, no question about it. But the argument now is that 25 years have passed, that he is deeply remorseful. He had quite a terrible childhood, I would say deprived and depraved, very mother in prison early on, alcohol, drugs, part of his life, brothers and a father who thought it was funny to put alcohol in his bottle, all these things. But mostly, I think the real focus is the idea that Mr. Coddington is truly sorry, is the argument. And he presented a statement, which I would urge governors to see a video of himself if he didn't see the hearing, that he really seems truly sorry, truly remorseful. And that's really the argument. The idea of clemency is that although a punishment might be legally authorized, there is still discretion to not go ahead. And that was the argument that his attorneys made. The argument by the state is basically, the jury spoke, the jury gave a death sentence in this case, and the governor should go ahead. The crime is deserving. That was sort of the two positions.
And, we've seen a couple of death row inmates go before the Pardon and Parole Board in the past couple of months here, one of them being, Bigler Stouffer, looking back to him. And one of the things the Pardon and Parole Board said that stuck out to me was that they weren't granting clemency based on innocence. They were granting it because they were still concerned over the drugs used and our procedures here in Oklahoma. Is that still part of their argument when it comes to James Coddington, or has a lot of that been resolved?
I would say it's legally resolved. I mean, if you look at Julius Jones and then Stouffer in this case, 3 different recommendations of clemency, very different. Judge Friat of the Federal District Court has held that the Oklahoma's execution method is constitutional, so legally resolved, although I would say many disagree with it, but it is legally resolved. So that is not the same as in Stouffer's case. This is really a very traditional plea for clemency. That's asking the Pardon and Parole Board and then the governor to have mercy, to say that although it might have made sense at the time of the crime, at the time of the trials, to conclude that this man should be executed, that it doesn't make sense now, that he is not the person that he was, that he is truly and deeply sorrowful and penitent. He hasn't had a infraction in over 15 years in prison. He's sort of a model prisoner. So that's the idea. The idea is that it doesn't make sense at this time to execute this person. It's really a plea for mercy.
Okay, and when we talk about it, being legally resolved here, as you mentioned, because of so much back and forth that we've seen with the other 25 death row inmates that are now kind of on the books here, do you anticipate more delays like roadblocks like we've seen, or do you think it should be pretty standard from here?
It's always hard to tell. Capital cases, it's always hard to tell. And also, honestly, to the extent that Oklahoma proceeds with executions, it's going to depend on how they go. I mean, The Lockett execution in April of 2014 was botched. The Charles Warner execution in January 2015, the wrong drug was used. That was discovered just before Glossop was about to be executed in the fall of 2015. So, you know, in addition to legal issues in individual cases, and then again, like in Mr. Coddington's case, a traditional plea for mercy, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
And in that same kind of vein there, I know it's also probably hard to say what Governor Stitt is going to do because we've seen him do a couple of different things here. But give me some of your expertise, I guess, on what you think Governor Stitt could do in this case.
I mean, he really has two options. Three options. He could deny the request for clemency, deny the recommendation, and say, no, I'm going to let the execution proceed. He could grant agree with the recommendation of the Pardon and Parole Board and commute, which is decrease Mr. Coddington's sentence to a sentence of life without parole. And that was the issue. There's no issue in parole in this case. The request was that the death penalty become a sentence of life without parole, or he could do nothing. Back to the Julius Jones case, you may recall, it looked like he was going to do nothing because there was no ruling. Governor Stitt did not announce a decision until less than 4 hours before that scheduled execution, and then he ultimately did commute the sentence of Julius Jones to life without parole. So it's hard to tell. I would certainly hope for everyone involved that Governor Stitt does reach a decision and tell folks why he's coming to the decision he's coming to.
Great expertise here. Assistant law professor from Oklahoma City University, Maria Kolar. Thank you so much for coming on today, Professor. We really appreciate this breakdown.
You're welcome.
Okay, everyone, we're back after this break. Stick around.